Hello and welcome to Fit News. Today I have a very special guest joining me, Cris Engen, founder of Faithfully Functioning Forward, a Christ-inspired well-living program. And she brings over 20 years of encouragement and motivation to live your best life. Motivated by a family history of heart disease on her father's side of the family and by the vision of what her mother would share about her grandfather being buried in a coffin the size of a piano case, this haunted Cris, and it was the catalyst that began her own choice to exercise from the young age of 10. In 2000, Cris realized that being well was more than just exercise and being a certain weight. It was about being healthy, mind, body, and spirit. And she found that Jesus Christ was her personal trainer. A mindset change of a desire to want to care for the body gifted to her by God, in order that she would encourage others to also live well. Certified by the American Council on Exercise and Group Fitness and certified weight management specialist, Cris brings enthusiasm with a servant's heart to sharing the benefits of living well physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, following the Bible as the best instruction manual on living life to take care of the body you have been gifted. Cris is the wife to Jeff of 31 years, a mother to 3 grown adult sons, and 1 daughter-in-law. Cris enjoys running, hiking, spending time on the beach, and meeting new friends wherever she goes. Better together, stronger together, faithfully functioning forward and living our best life. Cris, welcome to Fit News today.
Oh, thank you, Jen. That was awesome. I'd like to meet that person. I think she sounds kind of fun.
She certainly is a fun lady, let me tell you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for allowing me to share today. And thank you for a couple of weeks ago being my guest with class, because my ladies absolutely adored what you had to say and share from your heart. And it's wonderful that we can come together and share and make a difference. Because we're all stronger together. We're all better together.
Right.
And everybody resonates with things differently. So this is awesome. And you do a great job, and I applaud you for everything you do. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I really had a lot of fun with your ladies. They certainly were a wonderful group to chat with, and we had a great conversation together. Again, like you said, better together, right? And I really liked that idea of, coming together and working together as one, rather than, well, you're over here doing this and this person's over here doing that. So it is better together and stronger together. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about you and your story and your background?
Yeah. So, background history is heart disease on my father's side of the family. My dad lived to be, well, he just passed away 5 years ago in March, actually, here coming up, and had 5 bypass heart surgeries.
Wow.
And he was, and his brother and sister had been the oldest individuals that had lived in their family with heart disease, and they've all lived into their 80s and 90s, which was great.
Wow.
And just kind of the praise of medicine and the technology of God being the ultimate physician, but leading some wonderful individuals here on earth to utilize their skills in that field, which is great. But I watched this, and knowing heart disease ran rampant on my dad's side of the family, I also knew from the other side of the family, my mom had family members with diabetes, diabetics, and heart disease, as well as the story that she used to tell about her grandfather. I never met the guy. Unfortunately, he passed many years before I even came into the picture, but she would share that he was actually buried in a coffin that was the size of a piano. And we had an upright piano in our house. And so I would look at that piano literally, and I'm like, I don't want to be buried in a coffin someday. I mean, that's like that big. That's just, it literally did. It haunted me and horrified me. And I started exercising at a very young age. Don't know why. I mean, I was only 10, so it was just a few years ago. I didn't really know how. But I evidently was from inside, just knew that movement was good from a
Mhm.
very young age. And so do you remember Margaret Richards, Body Electric? She was on PBS.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So she was like the first exercise class that I ever
Right.
participated in our home, where this big piano was. And we had 3 stations that would come in. It was like CBS, NBC, and PBS. And so I grew up on a farm, rural farm in Minnesota. And I couldn't wait until she would come on, and I'd be exercising with her and doing all that stuff, and doing leg lifts, and didn't know at that time that now, just a few years later,
Right. Just a few.
it would be my own passion to want to continue to share that movement with others, and how
Mhm.
important that movement really is. What used to be known for weight control and losing weight,
Mhm.
but now has shifted over the course of the years, that it's more for our mental health than it is for our physical health, and how important that movement really continues to be for all of us.
Right.
And movement matters for all bodies as
Mhm.
well.
Right.
And then I grew up working, we had a nursing home and hospital in our small rural area. And I would put in a VHS tape into the recorder, or the player, with the big TV on a cart.
Oh,
And I
right.
would start that before I shift, it would start at the nursing home for the ladies and I to work out in. And I was probably at that time, well, I had to be 16 to start working. And they were very seasoned, had been around for quite a few years. And we would work out to Richard Simmons together on this
I love it.
TV. And so it really, without ever knowing, was something inside of me that
Mhm.
I never really understood why, until, and many years later, that God
Right.
had a plan for me to use that to help others live well
Mhm.
also.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, movement is medicine, right? And as
Mhm.
you said, it's, not only for the physical benefits of it,
Mhm.
but the mental
Oh,
as well.
absolutely.
And it's more and more studies are being released regarding the
Yes.
benefits, mentally, what it can do for you, along with not just in terms of depression, because we know that it does have a positive effect on that,
Mhm.
but also on dementia as we
Yes.
age.
Yes. And now my mom actually is in a memory care unit. And so my passion to keep moving and to make the best choices with what we have available at the time
Mhm.
is even greater, because I go there and I visit her almost every single day. And to see all the men and women in the memory care unit with dementia and Alzheimer's, I'm like, I've always been a firm believer that I'll do my part with what knowledge I have, and I
Right.
know the good Lord will do the rest.
Mhm.
We can't control everything, but we can control what we do and how we participate in this journey of life.
Yes, I love that. You're right. We are in control of the choices we make, right?
Yes,
Whether we choose to move or choose not to move.
it's still a
Um,
choice.
right, right. At the end of the day, the option is still yours.
Yeah.
And what you do with it, it's up to you.
Yes, definitely. That's right. And so, when my kids were little, they always saw mom exercise, whether they were
Mhm.
in their walkers or the swing or whatever. And it used to be, as a parent, sometimes we would say, maybe somebody needs a nap if they're getting cranky. Once in a while, I can't remember which one it was, but they're like, I think somebody needs to go exercise, if they thought mom was maybe a little cranky or something, because they just knew, and they knew it was my therapy
Right.
of being able to be the best. And it's still to this day. I love my group fitness classes. I love working out with my students in the mornings,
Mhm.
but I am anxious to hit the pavement running, because that for me that's my time.
Right.
And I put in my favorite worship songs and I just go. And if people see me, they probably don't quite know what to think, because I could be laughing, I could be crying, I might be singing, which nobody needs to hear, except they do, because I forget I have my earbuds in and
Right.
everybody can hear. But it's just that whether it's running or dancing or swimming or whatever it is for you individually, it is great therapy. It really
Right.
is.
Right. And I think that's so important what you just said there. Whatever it is for you. I mean, you and I both advocate, definitely number one, movement, but also strength training, because we
Yeah.
know the benefits of that. But, if at this point in time is not your thing, do whatever is your thing that
Yeah.
just gets you started.
Absolutely. And think back to being a kid. What did you enjoy as a child and why did you enjoy that? And just because you're older doesn't mean you can't do that. The other night, several of the ladies for our group, we did a face-to-face. We try to do one meeting a month. We meet Zoom most of the time, but we still try to gather together once a month for an outing,
Right.
just to bring back that social connectness of being together. Zoom is wonderful to
Right.
see the faces, but we still love that social. And that's part of one of the wellness aspects on that wellness wheel, is that social connection,
Right.
which is also essential to our health.
Right.
But
Right.
we play
Which over
pickleball.
the past few years, right,
Right.
there was a big decline,
Yeah.
which led to the big decline of health
Yeah.
throughout. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So you
And
played
so
pickleball.
we did, and it was so fun because a couple of them were like, "Seems like I've played this before." And I'm like, we were talking about badminton as kids and
Right.
wiffle ball and how fun that was. We would play that as a kid. But then all of a sudden we grow up and we kind of forget that we're still allowed to have that fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to bring the fun factor back to
Right.
life,
Right.
and to just giggle and to laugh, because that's medicine for our soul as well. Laughter, it's a great core workout, and it is wonderful medicine at the same time. So we
Right.
may or may not have laughed maybe more than we should have, but it was all good.
Right. Right. Oh, well, I mean but it is, it's as you said, there are so many components to wellness. It's not just diet and exercise.
Right.
Our health and wellness encompasses so much more.
It really does. And the wonderful thing is, as each year passes and more people become more aware of science and medicine and all the different aspects of life, we change our concepts of thinking about how we used to view things as well,
Right.
which is wonderful. And we are getting past of just, how do I want to say, you used to always have to be, it's like calories in, calories out, calories in, calories out.
Oh, yes.
Just get over that one.
Right.
Let's fuel our body with the good, pure things that are whole and natural.
Right.
And we don't really have to worry about what those calories are, because you're just going to be full.
Right.
And then
Right.
if you just start moving, it's going to take care of it. And to quit the obsession of obsessing about it,
Right.
but rather just practicing good daily habits,
Right.
is so essential to just
Yes.
living very, well, each and every day. So
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's about your daily habits, right? Because that's what you're doing more often. And so rather than trying to go back to this, in the 80s, it was starve yourself, and then you can be a size 0. Let's focus on exactly what you said. Let's focus on fueling our body, not starving the body, but fueling it with those things and the nutrients that it needs, right?
Right. And it almost seems like now, when you take a look back of what we know now, and we work with a lot of, both you and I work with many females mostly, but the metabolic health is absolutely just so messed up, and metabolism, and a good chunk of that age that are suffering those consequences now were the ones that were in those modes of fewer calories and almost that starvation mode,
Right.
was the true way of thinking. And it completely has wrecked their bodies now to be able to get into a normal rhythm of having things in it.
Right. 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 Because it was, and they would go from starvation mode for a couple of months, right? Because you can
Mhm.
sustain it. They would go on the diet for, I'm going on the diet. I'm
Mhm.
starting my diet on Monday, right?
Mhm.
And it
Mhm.
would last for a little bit, but there's a reason that it only lasts for a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. And with each new day, new week, new year, praise be, we learn things differently and we
Mhm.
see how our bodies react, and we can be willing enough to say that wasn't the right way, and let's change things up a little bit.
Right, right. Um, how about let's talk a little bit more about your group and what you do in your group and the types of things that come up in your group.
Right. So faithfully functioning forward is something that I came up with as a phrase of life several years ago, just going through personal experiences of my dad being ill, my brother and his wife losing their home in a fire, just
Mm,
life things of children growing and stuff. And I just started kind of coming up with this faithfully functioning forward. People would
mhm.
ask, "How are you doing?" And I'm like, we're faithfully functioning forward because life happens and
Yes.
it's not always easy. It's
Hmm.
not always happy. However, we do need to move forward and we need to do it with faith
Right,
and to do it functioning mode, meaning being an active participant in it. And
right.
it kind of just
Love it.
caught.
Yeah,
And
I
it
love it.
became kind of
It's
my tagline. And I do, it's just, it makes sense. It's like
yeah.
faithfully functioning forward. That's what we do instead of getting ourselves crawling in a hole and staying there.
Hmm.
Let's take a deep breath. Let's move forward and do it together. And so faithfully functioning forward came out of that. And I in our area and different things, we have, and I'm sure you do, and all of our listeners have wonderful gyms. We have a
Hmm.
lot of gyms that people had been participating in. But what I was finding is they were great about providing exercise. However, the person would come in, use their treadmill, use their elliptical, use their weights, and then they would leave.
Right.
There was no support for how are you feeling today?
Hmm.
What's going on, and being able to just share from your heart the things that might be causing you sadness or causing you the emotional distress to overeat and get
Right.
drawn into that connection of the food. So faithfully functioning forward came out of the fact that in 2000, I was ready to start being more involved in our church. We had started attending. Growing up, we were not regular attenders of a church. We knew who God was, but didn't attend a church on a regular basis, maybe Easter, maybe Christmas. But I always remember my mom praying, and I would
Yeah.
see her literally on her knees by her bed praying. And we grew up, loved my dad dearly, but he was a raging alcoholic as we grew up as children.
Hmm.
And I know it was because of her prayers that he would come home, later became a recovered alcoholic, and later in life didn't drink for many years after that.
Wow.
And became involved with our church, kind of fast forwarding, married, new baby, sick baby. And all of a sudden, we're like, you know what? We walked into Grace Point Wesleyan. At that time, it was a different name. And we sat in that service, and both my husband and I felt like pastor was talking to only he and I. It was like
Hmm.
there wasn't anybody else around, but he was speaking to us. And at that point, we started becoming a little bit more involved in church, and I was ready to start wanting to be an active participant in the church, but
Right.
I didn't know how to do it. I never
Hmm.
attended a Sunday school class. I didn't know really what the books of the Bible were. And I attended a seminar by Carol Lewis, at that time was the national director of First Place for Health. And it was through a satellite big conference. And she was talking about this, Bible study that she was doing about um, eating well, exercising, emotional, physical health, but then, of course, our spiritual health. Well,
Hmm.
of course, jumping forward, spiritual health and wellness is part of that wellness wheel.
Hmm.
And at that time, I'm like, oh, I can get excited about sharing my passion of exercise with people. And I can get excited about sharing how to eat healthy with people and different things. And so I said, I'll do that study. And I went up to my very good friend, Connie Hobby, who is actually part of the group Faithfully Functioning Forward. And she was the women's ministry director at that time. And I said, Connie, I said, I think I can do that. And she goes, okay, let's get it ordered. So I order it and I start looking through the material. I'm like, it's just 12 weeks. If I'm wondering about how to take care of myself now and to eat well and exercise and develop the spiritual health, other people ought to too.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't share what a Bible verse was to somebody, or I didn't feel comfortable being in a class. But however, good Lord placed upon my heart that you don't need to be in it, but I'll equip you to lead it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I started doing. God has a wonderful sense of humor. I'm reading through this, and it's a 12-week study with reoccurring Bible studies to begin every 12 weeks.
Oh.
That was 23 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And it was that year that I started doing the Bible studies, drawing closer to Jesus Christ myself and developing that own personal relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he became my personal savior and also my personal trainer.
Yeah.
Of walking daily in his footsteps, following the instruction from the Bible, of living well, loving the Lord with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul,
Mm-hmm.
loving one another and following those things, knowing that he did not give us a spirit of fear, but he gave us a spirit to live well and of strength. We didn't need to be timid, and just absolutely falling in love with Jesus, falling on my knees and letting him be my strength.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, everything started working together. And when he started being my anchor and the center of why I was doing it, to live healthy, to live well,
Mm-hmm.
in order to do what he had created me to do here on this earth,
Right.
it changed from a personal vein, I want to look good and I want to be a certain weight,
Right.
to a much bigger picture of it's my responsibility to take care of this body because it is a gift.
Mm-hmm.
I only get one of them. It is not my own. It is been bought at a price. And it is my responsibility to take every active action on my part and be a good student and a good steward of what I have been gifted.
Right.
And that's how Faithfully Functioning Forward came about, to draw together the other women then that also had that same, how do I do this? Or
Mm-hmm.
why do we do this? And in an open area and a community of a safe boundary to ask the questions that you don't understand.
Right.
To be able to discuss things and then to apply it to emotionally, how we heal from the inside out. And when we can heal inside
Mm-hmm.
first and be transformed versus being influenced by the patterns of the world, which we all know confuses us.
Right.
But to be confident in who you are as a child of God,
Mm-hmm.
and that you are a masterpiece. You've been created to do something totally different
Right.
than anybody else can
Yeah.
do. And unless you are well, mind, body, and spirit, you're not going to be able to do it well.
Right. Right. And I think that's what's so important, is to understand that. In fact, I did a podcast about this a couple of weeks ago about the importance of not neglecting any of those components, because they all work together to create better health. And if one of them is not working, is not functioning, right,
Yep.
then everything else is going to decline as well. In a matter of time. You might think, oh, and whatever for now, but it's only a matter of time. So it's important to take the time to work on all of the aspects of wellness and health, and not just focus on, as we were saying, a lot of times when you look at the health and fitness industry, a lot of it is focused on the aesthetics of it. You know,
Yeah.
get your summer body in the now, you know, I mean, that's all you see right now is, oh, summer bodies are made in the spring or whatever. And it makes me cringe because, well, that's just a story for a whole nother
That's a
podcast,
whole
right?
other
But
podcast.
it most certainly is. But, you know, because the concept of mind, body, and spirit is missing from that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, when we are confident in knowing it to be, it just allows us to be able to faithfully function forward.
Right.
When the bad things do happen, when the sad things do happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, once again, we can't control everything,
Right.
but we are able to control how we come through it.
Mm-hmm.
And when we can do it with a belief of knowing that God is in control, and when we do our part, he will do his, we can come through it on the other side looking more like a reflection of Jesus Christ that we've been created to be,
Mm-hmm.
and to be the hands and feet of Jesus, and to know that we may not understand everything. There's a lot of things I
Right.
don't understand.
Right.
And but we are able to have faith in the things that we cannot see because we
Right.
believe in
Yeah.
it. And that is where that's my passion. I absolutely get so excited. I'm a firecracker when it comes to sharing and speaking Jesus. There's a new song out now, and it is I Speak Jesus is what it's called. And I hear that song and I listen to it and I'm like, oh, you can do so much if a person is just willing to be willing to even begin a discussion to invite Jesus into their heart. It's going to be a different journey for everybody.
Right.
I've had a life with Jesus Christ, and I've had a life without Jesus Christ. And I will claim and sing and praise until the good Lord calls me home that my life with him is so much better.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely a delight to wake up each and every day.
Yeah, for sure. Cris, is there anything we missed that we should have covered?
Golly, I don't know. We only have
We covered a lot, didn't we?
We covered a lot, you know, and I just want to encourage each person and every listener to just take a deep breath and know that you are created differently than the 10 people that you're trying to compare yourself to, and that you are your own individual masterpiece, and to allow yourself to do what works for your body.
Right.
And to be your own best personal investigator and detective to figure out what foods fuel you well, what movement makes you excited, and know that you don't have to do it the same way as somebody else.
Right.
We may like running. You don't have to.
Right. Right.
Walking, whatever it is.
Right.
But just to embrace your own unique style of who you've been created to be, because there's something you can do that nobody else can do.
Right.
And you really ought to take that as a praise and just use it to be your best each and every day.
Yeah, you know, and I think that's another great point about the individuality of health and wellness, because, you know, I might like spinach, but you might not like spinach. And, you know, I might say, well, spinach does this, this, and this. Well, if you don't like it and I tell you to eat it, how long are you really going to eat it? Right.
You're not.
So
exactly.
it's important to find the foods that fuel you, like you said, in, you know, fuel you, not your neighbor, not your bestie, but you. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. So that's perfect.
Cris, if our listeners want to follow you or find more information on you, where can they find you?
Well, I'm kind of hard to find, to be honest. No. You can send an email to me personally to caengen@gmail.com. So that's C.A. Engen, my last name. I do have a Faithfully Functioning Forward Facebook page, but like I said, our community is a little bit more of a safe community where let me know that you'd like to be a part of it, and you're welcome to join in.
Right.
But we really are about relationships and building relationships and having that opportunity. So our group is all private because we talk about private things. We talk about
Right.
confidential things.
Mhm.
And so the Faithfully Functioning Forward page is a group public page,
Mhm.
but our discovery happens in our private group.
Yeah.
And I do a group fitness class Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6:15 a.m. via Zoom. If you'd like
Oh,
to check it out as well, you can let
wonderful.
me know and I can send you a link.
Mhm.
It's all about functional fitness, once again, of
Mhm.
being able to use our bodies well for all the
Right.
days that we are here on earth. And so that is one of the components, as well as the Wellness Matters, which we meet on Monday night.
Mhm.
And yes, if you would like to be a part of that group for support, education, training, Bible study, I would welcome you to be part of our group, because we love everybody, and it's a fun group.
Yeah.
It really is.
Wonderful. Well, Cris, we appreciate you taking the time to share today and share your
Thank
message with all of
you.
us. And
Absolutely. And
thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
Yeah, and keep
Yes,
on spreading the joy and the knowledge, because one heart at a time, it's
that's
going to
right.
be a changed world of health and wellness. And so I pray that your bodies and your souls are as well as your heart is, and that you
Wow.
have a great day.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.